You want to know what my least favorite kind of characters are? It's the kind of characters that only exist to be a bully or intentionally screw things up and always get away with it with little to no consequences. This is exactly why Megan from Drake and Josh is my least favorite character in history. Yes, I think she's worse than Chicken Little's dad. Fight me. But you want to know who's just an inch away from being able to surpass Megan from being my most hated character in history? It's Pillow from Bfdi. I absolutely despise this demon in disguise. And I'm not the only one who has this opinion, because Pillow is a very infamous character in Bfdi. But how did it get to this point? How did Pillow turn out to be disliked by many Bfdi fans? Today, I'm gonna try to answer that question to see how Pillow went from being an alright character to the most hated character in the series. Pillow didn't do much in Bfdi since she was not able to join the game due to the small amount of votes she had. However, I do have a theory about Pillow's character. I think Pillow's personality in Bfdi was supposed to be completely different from Teapot's personality, and Pillow was supposed to be this calm, serene girl. Pillow's appearances in Bfdi is very similar to Bfdi. Again, she didn't do much since she didn't have enough votes to join Bfdi, but she does have some cameos in the more recent Bfdi episodes. Pillow is even less relevant in the season than Bfdi and Bfdi. All she does is just stay trapped in the LOL. Pillow started to be more relevant in the series thanks to BFB pre-split, including the failed debuters from Bfdi 17. But at the same time, Pillow didn't really do much. She was just there. In fact, Pillow was so nothing burger that people couldn't even tell what her personality was supposed to be. However, there were some hints that Pillow did like murdering people in BFB pre-split, but those hints were like a blink and you miss it moment, and Pillow didn't really kill anyone up to this point of the series. All Pillow did in this half season was be silly and occasionally research things from time to time. Now this is where it all started. This season is the main focus of why so many people hate Pillow. So in pre-split, she didn't do much since half of the contestants in that season barely had any screen time. She only had 6 minutes of screen time in 16 episodes combined. But since Teapot had longer episodes, it meant that contestants who didn't have enough screen time in pre-split finally have their time to shine. And this is where it all went downhill for Pillow. Now, Pillow's whole character is about murdering people, which in paper is an alright idea for a character, but here's the thing. She's in a competition show. You know, just the kind of show where you need to help your team. But no, Pillow does the opposite. She purposely lets down on her teammates and causes trouble just because it gives her joy. But enough about that. Let's focus on an episode that's important to Pillow's character. Teapot 10. In Teapot 10, Pillow has a quote-unquote character development. And yes, those air quotes are intentional, and you soon see why. In Teapot 10, Pillow is surprisingly tolerable. She learns how to become a better person and put herself into other people's shoes. Now, when Teapot 10 came out, I watched the full episode, and I thought the Pillow arc was ridiculous. Sure, it was nice to see Pillow not act like a nuisance for once, but the reason I thought it was ridiculous is because I thought the only reason the writers wrote Pillow's characters this way was to protect her from getting eliminated too early. And when Teapot 12 came around, it turned out my theory was exactly correct. Pillow's back to her usual annoying personality, having no purpose other than screwing things up and making the challenge harder for her teammates. Like, excuse me? Did Teapot 10 not happen at all? Thankfully, there are at least some instances in Teapot where people tried to stand up to Pillow, with most of those moments coming from Nickel. Like, for example, in Teapot 6, Nickel gets frustrated at Pillow and tells her to quit her shenanigans. And in Teapot 10, Nickel points out that just not losing the challenge from Teapot 9 was all of Pillow's fault, which may sound harsh at first until you watch the actual episode and see that Pillow tried to kill all of her teammates. Honestly, I think Nickel and Bombi are the only ones on Just Not who actually have common sense, since they both hate Pillow for very good reasons. But enough with the negativity, let's try to look at the positives of Pillow. Well, if I had a gun pointed to my head and I was forced to tell the shooter a single positive thing about Pillow, it's that she can be funny sometimes. But that's about it, since Pillow always gets on my nerves. Yeah, that's about it. I don't really have a lot to say for this outro, since I only made this video to express my anger on Pillow. So bye guys, I'll see you in the next video.